My childhood friend went missing, and now he's knocking on my door, unaged. The insistent rapping at the door startled Sarah, jolting her from the comfortable haze of a Sunday afternoon spent reading. At 38, life had settled into a predictable rhythm, the echoes of a more turbulent past mostly faded. She wasn't expecting anyone. A quick glance through the peephole revealed a man standing on her porch. He looked familiar, achingly so, yet there was something subtly off. He had Liam's eyes, the same bright, mischievous sparkle she remembered so vividly. The same slightly crooked nose, the same way his dark hair fell across his forehead. But Liam had been gone for 20 years, vanished without a trace when they were both teenagers. This man looked exactly as Liam had on that last day, the day he disappeared. A wave of disbelief washed over Sarah, quickly followed by a surge of a long-dormant ache. It couldn't be him. Time doesn't stand still, people age, yet, the resemblance was uncanny, unsettlingly perfect. Hesitantly, she unlatched the door and opened it. The man on the porch smiled, a familiar, lopsided grin that tugged at a forgotten corner of her heart. "Sarah?" he asked, his voice the same warm, slightly husky tone she remembered. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. It was him. It had to be. But how? He hadn't aged a day. The last time she had seen Liam, they were 18, full of the reckless optimism of youth. Now, she was nearly 40, the intervening years etched in the lines around her eyes, the subtle weariness in her smile. A whirlwind of emotions, shock, disbelief, a flicker of long-lost joy, and a deep, unsettling fear, churned within her. Liam had been declared legally dead years ago. His disappearance had been a local tragedy, a wound that had never fully healed in their small town. She could only stare, speechless, at the man standing before her, a ghost from her past brought vividly back to life, untouched by the relentless march of time. Liam simply stood there, his familiar smile unwavering, his eyes filled with a warmth that seemed to bridge the 2 decades that had passed for her, but apparently not for him. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken questions and the weight of years. Sarah finally managed a shaky whisper. "Liam, is that really you?" He nodded, his smile softening with a hint of something she couldn't quite decipher, a sadness, perhaps. "It's me, Sarah." The impossibility of it all crashed down on her. He was here, standing on her doorstep, looking exactly as he had 20 years ago. It defied logic, reason, everything she understood about the world. A torrent of questions flooded her mind, but she couldn't voice any of them. Her throat felt tight, her mind reeling. Liam was back, but the years that had separated them seemed to have affected only her. He stepped forward slightly, a hesitant gesture. Can I come in?" Sarah, still in a state of shock, could only nod dumbly, stepping aside to allow the ghost of her past to enter her present. The house felt different with Liam inside, infused with the echoes of their shared youth. He looked around, his eyes filled with a mixture of familiarity and a subtle sense of disorientation. He commented on the changes, the new furniture, the different paint colors, his voice tinged with a wistful nostalgia. For Sarah, every word he spoke, every gesture he made, was a jarring reminder of the boy she had lost, now standing before her as if no time had passed. Days turned into a surreal exploration of a past that had moved on for one of them but remained frozen for the other. Liam recounted the day he disappeared, a vague memory of walking into the woods behind his house and then, nothing. He had no recollection of the intervening years, no sense of the time that had passed. For him, it was still 1998. Sarah tried to explain the 2 decades that had gone by, the changes in the world, the advancements in technology, the lives they had both lived, or rather, she had lived, while he remained suspended in time. It was like trying to explain a dream to someone who had never slept. Liam listened intently, his brow furrowed with confusion and a growing sense of unease. The world she described was alien to him, a future he had never imagined. The absence of any memory of those years was a gaping void, a terrifying blank space in his existence. The reappearance of Liam stirred up old emotions in Sarah, a bittersweet mix of joy at seeing him again and a profound sadness for the life he had missed. She found herself looking at him with a strange mixture of familiarity and pity, seeing both the boy she had loved and the man who had been lost to time. The small town reacted with a mixture of shock, disbelief, and a resurfacing of the old grief. Liam's parents, aged and weary, looked at their unaged son with a bewildered joy and a deep, unanswerable sorrow. It was a miracle, yet also a stark reminder of the years they had mourned him. Scientists and doctors flocked to their small town, eager to study Liam, to understand the anomaly of his unaged return. Theories abounded, ranging from elaborate hoaxes to unexplainable medical conditions. But Liam had no answers, only a blank slate where 2 decades of his life should have been. As the initial shock subsided, a deeper question began to emerge: what now? Liam was a teenager in a world 20 years into the future. He had no memories of those years, no understanding of the present. Sarah found herself feeling a sense of responsibility for him, a desire to help him navigate this strange new world. She showed him the internet, smartphones, social media, technologies that were science fiction in his time. He was both fascinated and overwhelmed by the rapid advancements. He struggled to reconcile the world he remembered with the one he now inhabited. The unaged return of Liam also brought a renewed focus on his disappearance. The cold case was reopened, investigators hoping that his reappearance might shed some light on the events of that day 20 years ago. But Liam remembered nothing beyond walking into the woods. As Sarah spent more time with Liam, a strange feeling began to grow within her. While he looked the same, the boy she had known was gone, replaced by someone different. The experiences that shape a person were missing. There was a void where 2 decades of life should have been. He was like a ghost of her past, a familiar face with an unfamiliar soul. The joy of his return began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unease. There was something about Liam's lack of memory, his almost childlike wonder at the modern world, that felt wrong. One evening, Sarah found Liam looking at old photographs of them as teenagers. His brow was furrowed, his eyes filled with a strange intensity. "It's like looking at someone else," he said softly, his voice troubled. "I recognize the faces, but they don't feel like me." His words echoed Sarah's own feelings. The Liam she remembered was fading, replaced by this unaged enigma. Then, Liam started having vivid dreams, fragmented images that felt like memories but weren't his. Flashes of unfamiliar places, faces he didn't recognize, a sense of being watched. He would wake up in a cold sweat, his eyes wide with a fear he couldn't explain. Sarah tried to comfort him, but she felt increasingly distant from this unaged version of her childhood friend. One night, Liam woke up screaming. Sarah rushed to his room to find him sitting bolt upright in bed, his eyes filled with terror. I saw myself," he gasped, his voice hoarse. "But it wasn't me, it was, older, with lines on his face. And he was angry, so angry." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Liam was starting to remember something that didn't align with his unaged appearance. The dreams became more frequent, more vivid, more disturbing. Liam started acting strangely, his familiar mannerisms replaced by moments of intense anxiety and paranoia. He would stare at his reflection for long periods, his brow furrowed in confusion. Then, Sarah started noticing small things. Liam's fingerprints didn't quite match the old records from his disappearance. His blood type was different. A subtle scar she remembered him having on his hand was gone. A terrifying realization began to dawn in Sarah's mind. The man who had returned wasn't Liam. He looked like him, sounded like him, knew things only Liam would know, but he wasn't him. But if he wasn't Liam, then who was he? And why did he look exactly like her childhood friend, frozen in time? The answer came one rainy afternoon, when Sarah found an old box of Liam's belongings in his parents' attic. Among his childhood drawings and school reports was a faded photograph of Liam with another boy, identical to him, standing side by side. Twins. Liam had a twin brother no one had ever mentioned. The pieces clicked into place with chilling clarity. The unaged man on her doorstep wasn't Liam, the friend who had disappeared. It was his twin brother, someone no one knew existed. But why had he appeared now, after 20 years? Why had he pretended to be Liam? And why hadn't he aged? Sarah confronted him, the faded photograph clutched in her hand. The unaged man's familiar smile faltered, his bright eyes clouding with a strange mixture of fear and resignation. He finally confessed. He and Liam had been part of a secret experimental program as children, something to do with manipulating time and perception. The details were hazy, even to him. The day Liam disappeared, something had gone wrong. Liam had been lost, trapped somewhere outside of time. He, his twin, had been suspended. He had been sent back, not as Liam, but as a replacement, a way to ease the grief, perhaps even to trigger something, though he didn't know what. He hadn't aged because he had been outside the normal flow of time. The vivid dreams, the anger he felt in them, those were fragments of Liam, trapped and somehow reaching out. The unaged return wasn't a miracle. It was a deception, a consequence of a dangerous experiment. Liam was still missing, lost in time. And the man standing before Sarah, wearing his face, was a ghost of a different kind, a living reminder of a tragedy and a secret that had finally come knocking. The knock on the door hadn't brought back her childhood friend. It had opened a door to a truth far stranger and more heartbreaking than she could have ever imagined.